Should we talk? Let's talk about impeachment first, just a little bit to go over some of these issues. More importantly, we were talking a moment ago. Matt was mentioning that there are many people who were involved in the Capitol, the storming of the Capitol, who had no idea what was going on, and now they can't get lawyers. So I do want to go over that a little bit, but we'll start with where we're at with Trump, because the big news, I suppose, if you care about impeachment, and it's I got to be honest, I find it really, really hard to care about it, is that his lawyers are doing miserably, like really, really bad. And Trump is apparently really angry. We have this story from the New York Times that says, meandering performance by defense lawyers enrages Trump. The former president was particularly angry at Bruce L. Castor, Jr., one of his lawyers, for acknowledging the effectiveness of the House Democrats' presentation. Well, apparently the Democrats have put up some, like they're arguing over his tweets. They put up some edited video to make their case. I honestly just think it's a big waste of time because we know what's going to happen in the end, right?
Yeah, it's not gonna. There's not gonna be a conviction, and so the problem I think that the president's attorneys have is they don't understand what's going on. Is that they are making this very narrow constitutional argument. They're almost doing this in a very bad way, as if there really is something to be decided, as if they were in a courtroom, as if it was truly a case, and it's not any of those things. This is an old-fashioned Soviet-style show trial. But unlike in the Soviet system, you actually, both sides get to do a show. So, and I've used this term before, it's asymmetric warfare. With the left, the Democrats are rolling in here with, it's just the loudest, they know they're not going to get a conviction. It's basically just about trashing Republicans, trashing Trump, trashing his supporters, and it's full on propaganda. And they're throwing everything in there, like high impact video. Granted, it's edited and it's phony, etc. But then the Republicans walk in and they're like making like a legal argument, like it's some,
Republicans are dumb.
Well, these attorneys, I'm not sure how committed they are to the party because they're Democrats. So I'm just saying. And one of them sued the president twice just a year ago.
What?
Yes.
Why did he hire these people?
I'm not privy to that process, but I will tell you, I've heard from many people, including very prominent Republican attorneys, more than one, by the way, who have just been dumping on the performance. And the thing is, look, if it's a show trial, you fight fire with fire. You roll in there with all of the instances of the left in provoking riots, like serious riots resulting in people getting murdered, cops being murdered, cities being burnt to the ground, Democrat politicians calling for people to stand up and fight, and you go whole hog. And you can go anywhere you want. You can talk about Chinese influence compromising President Biden and some of the steps he's already taken with his administration so far. You can do whatever you want. It's like it's a blank canvas to just get in there and paint the best picture you can. But these guys, the thing is, I almost feel like they're phoning it in because they know what the outcome is, and they're like, and they're thinking, a year from now this will be completely forgotten because it's,
maybe that's the right thing, and I actually respect that. It's a waste of time. We don't need to waste any time on it. They should walk in and go, Donald Trump has free speech, and he didn't do it. We rest our case.
That would be brilliant if they did that, but instead they're doing like a real legal, as if it was a real impeachment, trying to make a real case and doing a bad job of it.
I remember looking through Twitter. I forgot who said this, but someone jokingly said it was definitely the deep state that made Donald Trump hire inept lawyers, which is a very interesting point. The Independent also has a very curious article that reads, Trump's inept lawyers draws comparison to Joe Pesci's character in My Cousin Vinny. If you remember that movie, that was a pretty funny movie back in the day. I loved it myself. But again, a lot of people are criticizing these people, but more importantly, a lot of mainstream media people are treating this like it's the Super Bowl, like everyone cares, and in reality, no one really cares.
No. What else are they going to? But what else? What else is there to report on right now?
And you would think they would take this opportunity to move forward with their agenda, their causes, but they're stuck in this again, Trump derangement syndrome. They're stuck talking about Trump and
no,
and they're beating a dead horse.
No, Luke, they're the dealers. They're the dealers of the drug. They're the ones dishing out the Trump derangement tablets to all the unsuspecting town's children.
Have they been dipping into their own stash?
A little bit, yeah.
Dang.
Yep. Yeah.
They're high on it.
They have been, but I think now they know they're dealing. They're dealing Trump derangement syndrome.
Well, here's the question we got to ask. Last time there was a phony impeachment, that was completely consuming all of Capitol Hill and the entire media. Right at the time, this little flu-like thing was starting to spread out of China and slowly reaching other parts of the world. Just no one's really paying attention to it. President Trump made comment about fighting it in his State of the Union speech that Pelosi tore in half and ignored, and then called him a racist for trying to limit travel to China. That was what was happening when the last impeachment trial was consuming everything. So I wonder, what are we missing now? Because this is what they're completely focusing on.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Joe Biden's weird executive orders, like the one that allows for Chinese propaganda.
52 of them.
Or 52 so far.
Yep,
Wow.
52.
Hey,
Yep.
that's a record.
Honestly, that time story.
Oh, yeah, I mean, but they're bragging about that. They're not trying to hide it. Now, maybe it's the electrical grid rule suspension. Joe Biden's allowing Chinese-made goods to be used in our electrical grid, suspending a rule from Trump for like seemingly no reason. And I've actually heard criticism from some people who are relatively, Democrats saying, I understand Trump's rules may have been bad, but shouldn't you review them and not shut them down first? Like, don't suspend the rule, just review it, and then if it comes, you come to the decision to get rid of it, then you do. Isn't it weird to like just immediately snap your finger and say, China, you can build stuff for our electrical grid. We're going to review if it makes sense.
Or more and more U.S. military convoys going through Syria.
Yeah.
What's the status with that? I've heard about that. I heard it was debunked. It was Syrian propaganda.
No, there have been several of them at this point now, and nobody's really pushing it or asking questions.
Yes, there's been many kind of international organizations that have been detailing large convoys, 50 plus vehicles going into Syria, into, of course, the northeast region where the territory is contested between Syrians, Kurds, Russians, and now the United States that is permanently watching all the oil fields there as if it's theirs. So that's happening, and slowly but surely the reports that are coming in is that more and more troops are on their way there.
And it's always American troops coming through Iraq? Is that what it is?
Well, it's not just Iraq. There's also Jordan. The United States has bases all around, not just Syria, but of course Iran there. So there's a lot of troop mobilization and movements, not just by the United States, but also Russia in that region as well, that is also doubling down and sending more troops into that region.
I wonder what they're going to do with oil when the economy is shut down and nobody's using it.
Yeah. That's another big factor here economically, especially with America becoming energy independent. Now under these new restrictions by Biden, it looks like the United States is going to have more of a kind of appetite for oil. So this is why some people are saying we're going to be going back into the Middle East. I think it's far beyond that. I think it's far beyond natural resources. There's bigger things at play here, especially the geopolitical hegemonic power play that's being made between Russia, China, and the United States on the world stage.
Yeah, the shipping lane through the Suez Canal is not to be understated. That's like
of course
the central blood flow of the United States shipping.
Yeah, if you look at major conflicts throughout world history, they have taken place on shipping routes. So shipping routes are essential. This is why China also expanded its territory into the South Chinese Sea, because it's along a major trading route that, of course, usually sparks the largest conflicts when we look back at history.
Well,
it usually it concludes first the stopping of trade.
That's interesting because the U.S. is running drills right now under Biden in the South China Sea.
Yeah, with Japan and Australia doing war games. Of course, kind of saber rattling against China, who has been also doing a lot of consecutive war games, especially in the month of January. In January, out of 31 days, for 30 days, China ran drills and ran over the airspace of Taiwan, specifically drilling for its invasion.
So sorry, guys, but this sounds really important, but we've got an impeachment.
No, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's more
Very
important.
good point.
Yeah.
Very good
International war is meaningless.
No, forget about that stuff.
Extrajudicial
So he's getting
assassination.
impeached?
Wow. You mean he already got impeached?
Wait,
Yeah.
That's right.
he
Second
got
time.
impeached?
Yeah.
Yes.
Now they're going to try and convict
I
him.
can't even joke about this.
And
know,
who is this
right?
guy you say? They're trying to impeach the president of the United
He
States.
used
The
to be
former
president.
president.
Donald
wait.
Trump. Say his name with me, guys. Donald
hold on,
Trump.
hold on.
It's all about Donald Trump.
He's
right?
not the president.
Right.
He's playing golf, and they're like, we got to convict this
Private
guy.
citizen.
I think that
Right.
before Trump, there wasn't that much news. I feel like maybe I'm desensitized to it. I can't tell. I'm in this warp world.
You got pulled into a vortex we've all been in.
Yeah, they were making so much news because his tweets, and now it's just kind of back to normal.
It's
where there's not that much news.
Well, this is Pelosi's priorities, but I will tell you that if they weren't doing this right now, their fundraising would just
Yeah. I mean, even NPR was talking about this immense legal battle that's happening in Florida right now with the local county trying to kick Trump out of Mar-a-Lago, saying that he can't live there permanently. I'm like, why are we obsessing about this? Why is NPR talking about this? And they went on for a full 30-minute segment. I love listening to NPR because I actually really like their science and technology sections when they talk about those issues. But politically, it's very interesting to see their perspective because I love to see how other people think. And they are nonstop obsessing about this impeachment. They're thinking it's the Super Bowl. It's a major sporting event. They were covering it live, play-by-play blows. And when you look online, there's not even a fervor. No one really cares. Everyone's over it. Everyone wants to see. But this is the big moment that we're in because everyone wants to see what the Democrats can do for them. We voted for the Democrats. They got elected. They're in there. What are you going to do for me? What are you going to do to make my life better? People are waiting there, and they're like, but we got Trump here. We're gonna beat this dead horse even more. And people are like, we don't care. What they're saying
is very simple.
Yeah,
I know, America, that you voted for the Democratic Party, and we Democrats are going to do everything in our power to get you exactly what you need in these trying times. By impeaching a guy who's not president anymore. Hey, put on the clown makeup, drop the circus tent, put on the music, and then have a little car drive around, and people are swinging around in the trapeze and like, ooh, Donald Trump's getting impeached. Don't look over at the decimated small businesses. Don't look over at the mass evictions that are looming because we've got a big old pile of bread and circuses right here for you on the TV.
I mean, the American people are hurting, just like I brought up in my introduction. Failing wages, collapsing economy, loss of civil liberties, huge healthcare costs. I don't see any of the Democrats dealing with any of these issues.
Have you ever?
At all. Of course not. But there's going to be a lot of disenfranchised new voters because, I mean, how many votes did Joe Biden get? He got more votes than any other president in American history. So there's going to be a lot of people who are like, I participated, I was a part of the system, I got evil Trump out, now things are going to be better. And now they're going to be slapped in the face with reality. No, here's corporate globalist America screwing you. Family-friendly show. I got other things I want to say here. We're going to save it for the post show. But they're ramming you with their corporatism, and you have no other thing to do than submit to them getting their own way, and it's ridiculous and it's sickening.
We could talk about Mandalorian or WandaVision.
I still want to talk about foreign policy. I love foreign policy.
Yeah, I want to talk about the vestigiality of the political establishment at this point. It seems like they're no value. You know, when a gland in your body becomes vestigial, it's no longer used or needed.
That's right.
It seems like they're just, like you said, meandering at some point.
Well, no, they are siphoning away our money to use for their lifestyles.
Well, partly because they're incapable of handling the money because they've given the power of the money over to a private company and they're just letting the Federal Reserve run with it. So they can't fix monetary policy. They can't even audit the Federal Reserve.
But let's not underplay when they're like, I must have $10 million for Pakistani gender programs and speedboats in Sri Lanka.
Giving themselves raises. Of course, they're good at that.
The raises thing, I don't really care that much about.
I do. I can't stand it. That should not be their authority. That drives me insane.
What, to get a raise?
To give themselves a raise with my money.
Well, so the problem is there's no real way to solve the salary problem of Congress. Like Andrew Yang has said, give them $1 million so they're not incentivized to work for lobbyists. But that wouldn't change anything. They'll still, the lobbyists would just offer more money. The companies would offer more money. And some have said, make it so they can only make as much as the median American job, and then they'll be taking the lobbying. It's like there's no real way to solve that problem. I'll tell you, the bigger problem is when they're like, we have to help America by sending $500 million overseas during a pandemic when people's jobs are destroyed. We'll give your dollars to someone else in a different country with different rules and less lockdown, or what?
We desperately need a new industry. I don't want to derail this particular conversation, but I think a lot about graphene, you know, and if we can make America like the graphene industrial power of the 21st century, I think that will allow
that's
our
just
economy
one
to flourish.
small component.
It's like
I mean,
the steel. It'd be like if we were the steel industry of the 1900s. Now we can be the graphene industry. But we have to do it. You know, with these politicians that don't understand it, it's not going to happen. We need new people.
Well, I think impeachment is dumb.
Sounds like you should run for office, my friend.
Yeah,
that's right.
The graphene party.
I'm behind you. Let's do it.
And the Fed. Key slogan.
Let's do this.
It'll get smeared. Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. If you want to see the full show, come back to this channel, youtube.com/TimcastIRL, Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., where you can leave comments and super chat, and we actually will read your comments on the show. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and if you want exclusive members-only content, segments you can't get anywhere else, go to timcast.com, become a member, and we even have full bonus episodes. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.